Jesus took his disciples, Peter, John, and James, and he went up the mountain to pray. While Jesus was praying, his face changed in appearance, and his clothing became dazzlingly white. And behold, two men were conversing with Jesus, Moses and Elijah. They appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Now Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep. But now, becoming fully awake, they saw the glory of Jesus and the two men standing with him. As they were about to part from there, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is so good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But Peter did not know what he was saying. While he was still speaking, a cloud came and cast a shadow over them, and they became frightened when they entered the cloud. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my chosen son, listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found to be alone. They all fell silent and did not at that time tell anyone what they had seen. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Did you ever have a really beautiful moment happen right in front of you and you didn't even notice it? I suggest that question today because it might help us to understand the gospel. Sometimes the most beautiful moments in life, we miss them because maybe we're distracted or we're not feeling too alert that day, or maybe we're feeling a little sleepy or tired. I was trying to think of an example, and what came to my mind was an episode from Everybody Loves Raymond. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do watch the reruns of that show. And there's one episode where Raymond and his wife, Deborah, and the whole Barone family make a trip to Italy and visit relatives that they've never met. So in one scene, Raymond and Deborah and the kids are shown to the room where they'll be sleeping, very small little room. And outside the room is a beautiful balcony. So they walk out on the balcony and they look out at this beautiful Italian village on the side of a mountain. And as they look further, they see the Adriatic Sea. It's a sunny day, the water is shimmering. It's such a beautiful sight. And Deborah, Raymond's wife, said, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful." She almost is moved to tears by the beauty of it. And Raymond says to his wife, "Don't you think that bedroom's a little small? You know, the bed's just, are we going to sleep in there with the kids?" You know, and he's talking about all this stuff, and he's missing the beauty in front of him. Like at one point, Deborah says, "Ray, wake up. Look at what's in front of us." Now, why do I tell that story? Because that's kind of what happened to Peter, James, and John in today's gospel. The beauty is even more beautiful than the Adriatic Sea in Italy. It's Jesus being transfigured. The gospel says that this bright, shining light started to come out of Jesus. It was dazzlingly white, the gospel says. And not only the light, but it just gave everybody there a feeling of well-being, a good feeling. And then the gospel says, with all that going on, Peter and James and John were overcome by sleep. They fell asleep. They missed the moment. They missed the beauty of it all. Finally, they wake up and they realize what's happening. And they're kind of filled with this good feeling of Jesus being the light who's shining in front of them on the mountaintop. And it prompts Peter to get up and say, Lord, boy, it's so good to be here. I just love this moment. Let's freeze the moment. Let me set up 3 tents, because Jesus is seen speaking to Moses and Elijah, who had appeared on the mountaintop from heaven. Let me set up 3 tents, one for you, Jesus, one for Moses, one for Elijah. They almost missed the moment entirely, the beauty of it all. Why is this gospel given to us on the second Sunday of Lent? Because these 40 days are a beautiful experience, a beautiful moment that lead us to Easter morning. And Jesus doesn't want us to fall asleep like Peter, James, and John did. He doesn't want us to miss the beauty of it all. What is the beauty of Lent? It's the beauty of renewing your friendship with Christ. It's the glorious feeling that you get when you spend time in prayer and it gives you peace. Or it's the great feeling of putting yourself last so you can put other people first. The beauty of Lent is charitable works where you reach out to help somebody, to feed a hungry person, or to comfort someone who's down, or to console someone who's sad. These are beautiful moments. And when you participate in those 3 traditional works of Lent, prayer, self-denial, putting yourself last, and charitable works, it can give you a peace and a joy that Peter must have felt on the mountaintop in today's gospel when he wakes up and says, wow, let's just stay here, Lord. Let me set up tents. We can just stay in this beautiful moment forever. That joy can be yours and mine if we take Lent as seriously as possible and try to reach out to others more deeply than we have before. The joy of Lent is strengthening your friendship with God, feeling closer to the Lord, knowing that in all of your Good Fridays and my Good Fridays, in all of our moments of cross, frustration, disappointment, fear, anxiety, confusion, we're never alone. Jesus is always leading us through those different Good Fridays to another Easter morning. And today's gospel is saying, don't miss it. Don't fall asleep. There are so many moments of transfiguration. I mean, what today's gospel is really saying is that the goodness of God is all around us. But sometimes we're too sleepy or not alert enough to see it. Like these poor 3 guys in the gospel who fell asleep at the moment of glory on the mountaintop when the light's shining from Christ. I mean, the beauty of God could be in such simple ways right in front of us when we're talking to someone we love or who loves us. I had a transfiguration moment at the 4 o'clock Mass yesterday. I was walking down the side aisle before Mass to come in from the back, and I just glanced and saw a young couple, mom and dad, with a baby that looked about a year old, being held by his father, and the baby looks up to me with these big brown eyes and he waves at me. Am I too busy to notice the beauty of that? Am I too busy or asleep to notice when somebody is standing in front of me who needs my friendship, that I have the opportunity to help that person. That's a moment of transfiguration. A simple act of kindness, or a reaching out to someone, or all of the things that Jesus told us about love, like feed the hungry, welcome the stranger, comfort the sick, forgive. How many times? 400, 500, more than that. When Peter says, Lord, how often should I forgive my brother? 7 times? No, Jesus says, 70 times, 7 times. Keep being a forgiving person. And then he says, stop judging others. Never condemn another person. Recognize that every human being is a child of God. Those are all moments of transfiguration, seeing the goodness of God in other people. And again, I keep looking at Peter, James, and John in today's gospel. When it happened, quote, they had been overcome by sleep. Lord, help me not to fall asleep during Lent and forget what this season is all about. I don't mean that you shouldn't sleep at night. Get your 8 hours, of course, but symbolically, I can be too tired to pay attention to prayer or to other people. Or, quite honestly, I can be so concerned about me and what I want and my agenda that I forget I should always put others first. Don't let me get too dull or distracted by life's details to miss the moment of beauty that is before us all the time. One of the most beautiful moments that we can have as often as we want, because it happens every day right at that altar, is that bread and wine becomes the real presence of Jesus Christ. It becomes his body and blood, and we receive it. And a signal that we should not miss that moment, that we should not, quote, fall asleep when that happens, is the word behold. It happens right before communion. The priest holds up the body and blood of Christ and he says, behold, the Lamb of God, the one who takes away all the hurts and the darkness and the sins of the world. Blessed are you, because you've been called to his supper to receive that glorious love of God that is present in Jesus Christ whenever we receive communion. Yeah, Lent is a beautiful time. I'm not saying it's always easy to see the beauty, because we all have our Good Fridays. We all have to take the words of Jesus to heart when he says, if you want to be my follower, pick up your cross. Sometimes I wonder if that's why Peter, James, and John fell asleep in the first place, because when Jesus was talking to Moses and Elijah, who had appeared from heaven, the gospel today says he was talking about his crucifixion. He talked to them about all that he would accomplish in Jerusalem. Maybe Peter, James, and John didn't want to hear the sad news, the Good Fridays of life, so they fell asleep. And I say when I hear this gospel that God is saying to us, in whatever way we might have to be courageous and deal with the crosses of our lives, whatever it is, it will bring us the joy and the peace of transfiguration, which was kind of a preview for the disciples of what was going to happen on Easter Sunday. Lord, help me never to be afraid of the crosses in my own life. Help me not to, quote, fall asleep, unquote, in order to avoid Good Fridays. Help me face them with a great sense of hope and confidence, because every Good Friday, every effort we make, every cross we carry out of love can lead us to another Easter morning, to the joy and the peace of Easter and resurrection. Don't forget that one of the things the gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, agree on is that when he did rise from the dead, The first words he spoke to Mary Magdalene, who was the first one who saw him risen from the dead, the first words were, "Peace be with you, Mary." He wants to say that to us. He wants to give us the peace of Easter morning. And Lord, help me not to miss the beauty of that moment.